Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's workshop entitled Venue Reopening Strategies. Self-service does not mean no service, powered by Alvarado. We're joined today by Brian McNeil, Vice President of Sales, Sports, and Entertainment at Alvarado, and Bruce Radley, Senior Manager, Venue Ticketing at Spurs Sports Entertainment. Brian, Bruce, welcome. I'll let you guys take it from here. Thanks for joining us.
No, I appreciate it. Bruce, I say thank you for joining me. I always kind of think it's really good to kind of get not only from a perspective of what we see out in the field, kind of at the different venues that we work at, but obviously get it, straight from the venue's mouth more than anything on kind of real world information that, I think is really relevant for a number of, none of those that are also watching, the workshop. So with that, I'll kind of kick it off a little bit. To kind of go back a little bit, obviously last year, I know Bruce, you guys rolled out, a lot of different technology kind of in a very short period of time. And we saw a lot of venues doing that similar type of thing. But what really just kind of go back and rehash on kind of what does that strategy kind of look like as you evaluate new types of technologies, whether it is on the access control side or something else that might be internal to the building. And so, I wanted to kind of, talk through with you, Bruce, on, objectives, maybe some of the things that you guys had, initially identified as far as maybe pain points or things that you wanted to address. I mean, I've got a number of them kind of teed up here on this slide. Whether it's on the staffing side, staff shortages. I mean, we see a lot of that lately. Contact, kind of moving towards either like the contactless environment or just mobile ticketing in particular. Bruce, I'll kind of put that in your lap. What was kind of the key drivers that you guys saw?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it was definitely coming out of or in the midst of the pandemic and coming out of how the environment of live entertainment and operating a venue was going to look like once we got back to live. And I think that we were definitely already a mobile venue even before going into the pandemic and are fully mobile now. So definitely the mobile adoption that had already been going on, and just adjusting to what life would be like when we go back live, and not sure what that would be if we had to continue the social distancing, if we had to continue the contactless, and as a venue we were going the way a lot of venues were going, I think, with contactless payment systems, cashless, and so access control or entry into the venue was high on that list as well. And so I think those are the factors that drove us to look as many venues were doing at the time to the contactless and ease of entry, self-scanning pedestals that we ended up adopting and using here at two of our venues in San Antonio.
Yeah, I think, to your point, I think, even kind of pre-pandemic, we certainly saw, obviously, a lot of the drivers was around like mobile ticketing and just, basically making that process easier, really kind of increase that adoption, kind of across the board. But, I think obviously during COVID, I think that forced venues that might have had it on a 2 or 3 year type of rollout to, essentially rip off the Band-Aid. It was either kind of go or no go, really at that point. So, I thought it was interesting in you guys' case because you guys were going through not only a transition to mobile, but even on the platform side, right? I know you guys were on the Ticketmaster side. Was there what was some of the other stuff that you kind of had that kind of coming down the road back as far as on your transition?
Well, we were actually kind of headed that way too. The pandemic basically kind of got in the way, but we had already rolled out. We're a Ticketmaster venue. And we had already rolled out TM1 sales at our box office. So we were already trying to go as mobile as possible, texting tickets to our walk-up crowd, or having them manage them through Account Manager or the Ticketmaster app. So we were already headed that way. And this just kind of expedited that once we were looking to how we were going to operate once we reopened. And I know we had already had some demos and things in a couple of our venues prior to the pandemic starting. So we were already thinking that way and headed that way, and this just kind of expedited things as we tried to envision how things were going to look once we finally got to open back up.
Right. And then, I mean, you know, when you're talking to look at it, you know, from the access controls perspective, I mean, like we got into, you know, a number of different types of use cases for technology. You know, I know you guys kind of settled on, you know, more of like a barrier-free type solution. I mean, what was the thought process behind that? I mean, you know, as opposed to like a turnstile type of oriented solution or you know, like a wall mounted type solution. I mean, what was the kind of the key driving factors for you, you know, in those cases?
Well, I think what we wanted to do is just continue the environment that our fans and our customers were used to. We had forever had the handheld scanners. The AT&T Center has been open, well, it'll be 20 years this fall, and it has never had a turnstile in its history. So it was always that welcoming, friendly environment. A ticket taker there with a handheld scanner, and we just wanted to continue that. This just took the scanner out of the ticket taker's hand, and now they're more of a monitor and a troubleshooter and providing customer service, whether it's helping the customer to get into their ticketing to the mobile app or whatever they need. So we just wanted to continue that type of welcoming environment. And so not that, you know, turnstiles aren't that, but that's kind of traditional, and we've never been that way. So that was our thought process in going with freestanding pedestals to just continue that. And we didn't really eliminate staff. Our staff just transitioned into another priority as far as their being on site for an event.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I know, so I was in that kind of that initial kickoff session with Ruben and Marina from the Hornets. And that's definitely kind of the, you know, the same thing we've seen, not only in, you know, in those particular venues, but kind of across the board. It's, you know, I mean, you know, when you talk about like a pedestal as opposed to turnstile, it might be more of like a hybrid type of situation where you're still getting a lot of the same advantages that, you know, you kind of see on a turnstile, but not necessarily quite as obtrusive. Definitely more, you know, service and, you know, kind of, you know, to your point, you know, the staff are being more used as ambassadors, as Marina put it, you know, previously. So, you know, I know you're very much on the kind of on the technology side, and you know, kind of get into I guess the nitty gritty to some extent. So, you know, when you look at, you know, how things are, you know, compatible with one another. I mean, you know, I know we, you know, like in our case, I mean, we have different types of integration methodologies. I mean, you know, with everything happening so quickly last year, I mean, what was some of the considerations that kind of went into play, you know, in those particular cases?
Well, I think the main consideration was the timing, and we were gearing everything around the start of the NBA season, because first and foremost, we're an NBA building. We do have many other events that come through AT&T Center. We also have a soccer stadium that we ticket. And it was just timing of things and when we were going to want to reopen. And the goal was, from the top down, the goal was to be ready, and to be ready with the most and latest technology and the contactless technology is possible. So while we were rolling out things like the cashless at the box office, cashless at every touch point inside the venues, we were still also looking at being ready to host a live event, whether that was going to be at the start of the NBA season traditionally in October, or as it turned out in late December. But in addition to that, we also at our soccer stadium, we restarted our season there with a social distance crowd, and we needed to be ready to welcome fans back in late summer, and not even be waiting around till October, as it turned out December at AT&T Center. So we wanted to work with what was going to work best with our needs, And I think we found that in Alvarado. We shopped around definitely and looked at different units and services that are out there. But I think it came down to pricing. It came down to availability, because I know, as you mentioned, you're absolutely slammed last year in production, than way above normal for obvious reasons, and we were looking at that and what was going to fit best for our needs and the timing of when we needed things, and it worked out for us.
Yeah. Everything obviously last year was very much a moving target. Really, no matter what was going on, things changed every 24 hours. That was for certain last year. So, but then as far as when because I know you guys, I know this kind of came up before, but in terms of like what you're doing as far as day-to-day type maintenance, are you guys doing much in terms of like having to change things around? Obviously a lot of these things are portable. So, I know obviously that kind of comes in, that needs to kind of come into consideration from a facility operations standpoint. Can you touch upon that?
Sure. Well, like what we do here is obviously ticket operations, the area that I head up. We are responsible for the guts of it, because we use the Ticketmaster presence system in our case on the Ticketmaster platform. So we're responsible for getting everything ready, making sure that everything is operational. But we also work hand in hand with our fan operations team. They are the ones that are the ticket takers, or the ticket monitors, if you will, now, the pedestal monitors, and so they own it just as much as the rest of us do. So they're responsible for the day-to-day care. An event's over with, they put the units away, take care of them, make sure they're plugged in and charged and ready for the next event. So it's definitely a shared responsibility. But when it comes to troubleshooting, it still mainly falls back on ticket operations, and I've developed that too with our team here in ticket operations to spread the wealth, if you will, to not have the one person know how to fix everything that comes up with it, how to use the gate utility if we need to make updates, like we've had to with some of the messaging that we've had on the pedestals, especially on the NBA side with the COVID testing and vaccination and that type of thing. So that's clearly all run through ticket operations, but it's definitely a shared responsibility with our fan operations team.
Yeah, and that actually ties in perfectly with kind of where ultimately I want to go on this a little bit is when you talk about like the importance of staff and kind of how the staff are doing different things than maybe they were year and a half ago. I'm really what we've kind of seen, everything was happening so fast last year that I think to some extent was technology just kind of a magic bullet? Yes, to some extent, but there's always that hand, tying in of, when you're looking at it more from a customer service perspective, communication. There's so many other different elements that make this a little bit more of a seamless type of rollout, as you kind of look to plan, to move forward. So I thought this quote from Steve Jobs was obviously, very relevant here. Technology alone is not enough. And really, I know we kind of touched upon this, a little bit in that last session with Ruben and Maria, but communication, I think you guys have done a phenomenal job of communication to your fan base. And I kind of use a couple of these interesting memes because, communication is, there's all forms of, types of communication in terms of whether you're doing kind of pre emails out to your ticket holders. Obviously, once they come on site, how are your staff interacting with guests as they come through there? So, what kind of goes in, through you guys' minds on, how do you kind of determine that communication plan?
Well, it all started before rolling back into live this past year, when we had made the choice to go to mobile, and we made the choice to go to mobile on the Spurs side first, and then the venue side rolled along with it, and our soccer facility as well at the same time as the Spurs. And so it started then, just with the training, not only of staff, obviously, to handle customer service situations. How do I find my tickets? how do I scan my phone or my device or my ticket once I get to this strange looking device that I hadn't seen before? And so ahead of that, we were already sending out pre-event emails, and now it's 3 or 4 of those ahead of each and every one of our events, and it's targeted at different groups. We'll have one that's targeted primarily at our premium group, because they may be going through a couple of different stops if we have some internal scans that are coming up once they enter the primary doors to the venue, if they're trying to get into a club area, or we didn't go the suite route. That's something we decided didn't work for us, for that same reason that prior to this time we had never had access control to our suites. I know some venues do that, but we hit them with as much information as possible and multiple times. Even when you're on your way to the venue, you're either going to get a text, or you're going to get a text with a link, or you're going to get a text or an email that's going to come out and give you last minute instructions, or whatever the case may be, for each fan. And as try as we might, as much as that as we do, there's still handfuls of fans that still have the difficulty. It's an adaptive process, and like anything that we've gone to on the technology side, we talk about this 2 years down the road, and it's going to be like second nature. But we just do as much as we can on our side to inform the fans of what's expected of them. And we see different fan bases are more adaptable than others. So that's an interesting thing too. I think our Spurs core season ticket member group is definitely an older type crowd, maybe not as adaptable technology. Whereas you see on a concert, if it's a concert, it's a younger crowd. They've all 90% of them have bought their tickets mobily, and so they're ready to go when they get to the venue, and there's no issues in getting the fan base into the arena.
Yeah, and I think from a service aspect, I mean, I think what we're starting to see this year is, now that things are starting to slow down, we've definitely seen teams starting to get a little more creative in how they are, even once the fans are on site, on how they're interacting with them. I mean, I've got a couple on the kind of examples up here. I mean, beyond like the screen graphics and maybe some of the fixed graphics, I know we've seen a number of teams kind of roll out where it's just kind of cutouts, especially with everything there. I mean, there's so many different delivery options now, whether you're talking NFC or barcode type based. It's really kind of have for those, for a fan that might not have any idea of kind of what you're trying to describe to them. It's a lot easier just to kind of show them really quick. And so little tools like that go a long way from what we've seen. Obviously, in your guys' case, I know you guys are doing kind of those secondary type checks for COVID, either vaccination pass or COVID testing. So, we're starting to see a lot of our devices kind of used to, drive some of that alternate behavior, as far as how that staff interacts with those guests coming through there. In our case, we actually had that same type of thing happen at, this past Super Bowl with all the vaccinated healthcare workers. So, we've been able to kind of leverage a lot of cool things. Certainly a lot of these, the indoor arenas obviously have different factors that come into play that maybe some of the, the larger, exterior type venues, don't have. So, yeah, I mean, I think, just kind of summarize a little bit, I know we've kind of talked about this over the last year, Bruce, is, really even just kind of looking beyond the technology is how do all these other kind of variables kind of come into play. And, I think you could probably agree. I mean, there's always this constant balancing act between all these little elements that if you're going to try and, achieve that happy medium. You got anything else to kind of, add to that, Bruce?
Well, I just say I think that your graphic hits it right on the head. I mean, it just in coming into this, it was new to everyone. It was new to us, and we just hit it head on and made sure that not only first and foremost our staff was trained so that they knew how to react, but obviously the communication and the planning and that went into it and still goes into it to this day. We still refine it. As we started up yet another Spurs season, we still refine things from almost event to event, and how to make it is just that much more seamless and the experience is more enjoyable for the fan because it may be the first time coming in, or they maybe a seasoned veteran for entering the arena. But we just try to make it as welcoming and as easy as possible.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. So I mean, it's obviously it's been a pleasure working with you guys, and we certainly looking to look forward to how everything kind of progresses, especially with all the new things kind of coming down the pipe, and as I kind of start off the conference, it's I think we're definitely in bigger, better times right now, and wish the best for you guys and the Spurs organization. So with that, I'm gonna kind of turn over. So I mean, we'll kind of take a look at the chat that's kind of coming through there. If anybody has any questions, we're more than happy to try and answer them for you right now. So, but thanks a lot, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much, Brian.
So I got looks like one comment / question. Love to touch those interactions at stadiums, but as a Canadian that travels to American stadiums, I enjoy using cash rather than card for interactions to avoid credit card fees. With travel restrictions lifting more and more, will stadiums allow cash, or are we stuck using cashless payments? What would be kind of your response to that? Kind of seeing the progression of going to cashless environment entirely, Bruce.
Well, I think that I think anything's possible. Obviously, I know right now, just as I speak for our venue here, we've stuck to that mandate. We do get questions on an event by event basis. We have signage. It's all over our website and those types of things. So it's clearly the question. It involves someone that is using cash, and we definitely have a lot of those fans in our market here in San Antonio. And could I see a time when cash comes back? Sure. It may not be in the same capacity as it always has been, but
yeah, I've actually seen a number of venues here recently, and again, I mean, I think. And obviously this is kind of around Canadian, but I mean, I have seen some getting a little bit creative to where it's almost like a hybrid solution where they have little cash exchange machines where you put in the cash and it creates basically a digital payment card. And so if they want to use cash, they go to the machines, convert it over to a cashless payment option, and then they can go around to the venue. So. Have you guys looked into stuff like that by chance?
We actually have that on the concourses inside of the arena, and different arenas are set up different ways. Unfortunately, with us, our box office is on the exterior, and with the budget that those types of machines cost, they budgeted so many, but it was budgeted mainly for when fans enter the building, and they're beyond that barrier of needing a ticket to get in. So. Right now, if you were to come up to the box office on the day of an event, there's no way for you to exchange that cash for the debit card. But we have that available, and I've seen that definitely in other venues as well as I've traveled about. But haven't seen too many that started out with cashless and have gone back to cash.
And I know Ruben mentioned you guys are doing loaded ticketing, right? Loaded tickets with stored value.
That's how we're adapting to that as well. Definitely on the ticket op side. Yeah, that we'll have loaded tickets with. We started it actually with our player guests last December when the shortened season started, and we needed to find out a way to help the player guests as far as some concessions and things like that. So we were giving them loaded tickets as part of their admission. So that's worked very well, and we mainly do it on our Spurs side and on our soccer team, SAFC, and haven't seen it go much with on the concert and event side yet as well. But I can see that coming.
No, cool. That's great. Bruce, again, thank you for participating along with us. So obviously, if you guys have any questions, we'll be kind of sticking around throughout the event, and you're more than welcome to hit us up. So, Bruce, again, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Brian. You have a great day.
Thanks, guys.